apologize to you guys right off the bat about that. I had a cable that just went out on me. That is a first here at Lighting the Void. The thing just totally went out, and I could not figure out what was going on. So we may have to wing it tonight. It may just be me and the guest. Maybe no phones. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm Joe Roop. This is Lighting the Void. We're live on the Fringe FM. Thank you so much for your patience. It's been a long time since that's happened. But either way, tonight we're going to talk about a subject that we don't usually we don't talk about quite a bit on this show, but you've heard me talk about it before. Paranormal activity and hauntings, like, are they interfacing with us? And our guest tonight is author and paranormal researcher Guy McCort, who is of Irish descent and comes from a blue-collar family. And after a childhood near-death experience, his paranormal journey began, and he grew up in a haunted house that has been with his family for 3 generations. And now he helps families deal with paranormal activity. And McCort majored in electronics and robotics, but instead he began studying psychology. He left that to study psychology and parapsychology in a search to make sense of what he was experiencing. He eventually quit college to research the paranormal full time. And I have to apologize to you, sir. I've never had that happen before. I had a cable just totally go out on me right before the show. But thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
That's okay, and it doesn't surprise me. Electronics fail around me all the time.
Yeah, I'm not real sure. I'm not real sure what happened, and I don't know how loud this is. So I'm gonna kind of be adjusting as we go here. So tell me about your book first, and tell me the name of your book, and then you don't have to tell me the whole story, but just kind of tell me what happened. Now, before you do that, I will tell you this: that I went and I watched your video. It was one of the first videos that was on your YouTube channel, and it scared the hell out of me because that happens right at the end, and I've never seen it before, and it really, really freaked me out. So, have you always experienced stuff like this, or is this kind of like the first time that ever happened to you? Was it in that house on that video?
Yeah, it was in this house. It was the first time. I was a little kid, and it started with my sister, and and I didn't believe her. And then later that night, it really started messing with us. Like, it was messing with her bed, then it would mess with my bed, and then like the bed would vibrate, and then it would sometimes feel like, and almost felt like it was levitating. And it would slam back down and stuff. But that was at a very young age. I was probably 8 or 9 years old at that time.
Yeah, so that's the same house. Here's because the video I showed in the chat room at the Fringe FM was the video where you guys were talking about how you dug up a dress and stuff like that, and then somebody just popped up behind you. That's the same house?
Yeah, that's the same house.
Okay. All right. So tell me about your near-death experience, though. First, before we get into this story.
Okay, well, I was a sick child, I guess you could say. I had health troubles. I was born with a tumor on my pituitary, and it was causing me all kinds of health afflictions. And I was getting pneumonia real bad all the time. And the first near-death experience was my temperature was up so high, and they put me in one of those bubbles like they used to back in the day. You know what I'm saying? To keep your temperature down.
Right.
And the nurse forgot to turn the fan on. And my temperature skyrocketed to something. I can't remember exactly what they said, but my organs completely shut down. Like, everything shut down. And I remember being in the room above everybody, and I remember the collar of the scrubs they was wearing, and I remember my mom and dad holding each other over in the corner crying, and and at this time they wasn't getting along. So the fact that I seen that, it just it blew their minds after I talked to them about it afterwards. And then I seen this thing, it come into this room, and it was saying, Guy, it's not your time. And then the next thing I know, I just remember it felt like I was being sucked into a vacuum. And I just remember hitting the bed, and it felt like I bounced It almost felt like I fell probably 100 feet or something. It's about what it felt like. The recourse of the way I jumped up out of the bed. And then that was the first one. And I've had another near-death experience after that, too, from a bicycle wreck.
So this is what I find a lot. I find a lot that people have these near-death experiences. When they've had it as a child, they tend to have paranormal activity happen to them all their life. But I think for the most part, most people, when they see stuff like this, like videos on YouTube, and they hear these paranormal stories, and it's due to like pop culture and TV and things like Zach Baggins and all that stuff, a lot of people are really skeptic about these types of things. So what would you say to those people that might just look at your video and just toss it off as fake, right? That one video before they even read the book.
Right. Well, you know, you can have some of the best evidence in the world, and a hardcore skeptic's going to be a hardcore skeptic. There's really nothing you can do or say to that. But I will say to them though, just open up your mind to the possibility of what is out there. There's things out there that we don't know, and there's things out there that you can't explain. And once you open yourself up to that, and once you realize that, then yeah, you'll see that the spirit world's real. It's a real thing. It's as real as you and I are.
And so was it just the, you named the book, The Darkness on Church Street. I assume that's the name of the street the house is on. So is it just that house that you've had experiences with, or is it the entire area?
Growing up, it was just this house. It wasn't until after I started becoming a young adult that I started wanting to go check out other things, you know, to see. I'd hear stories about local places, and we'd go check them out and see what's up and see if they was haunted or whatnot. But I'm going to tell you something. In all the places that I've traveled around and investigated and stuff, I've not ever once come across anything that was as scary as the stuff that we experienced in here. And just my family, my friends, me, my fiance, the things that she's experienced in here, you know, it's pretty wild.
Well, why is it so scary?
Almost hard to grasp.
I mean, are you talking about like things you see out of the corner of your eye, or poltergeist activity, or what's give me something really scary here.
All right. Well, there's this thing, we call her the Gray Lady. Okay. And yeah. Okay. And I'll tell you the story. One time I was falling asleep and the TV was on. Okay. And I start hearing this weird noise, like and I'm like, what is on the TV? And I kind of open my eyes, but I'm still kind of half asleep, and what I'm hearing is not matching what's coming out of the TV. And then I finally focus in on where it's coming from, and it's coming down next to the bed next to me. And I look over the side of the bed, and there she is on all fours like a cat, and she looks up at me, and she leaps from the floor up on top of me, and she's holding me down, and just in my face, just, and then she jumps off of me and walks backwards all sideways, slinky, like into the bathroom, and disappears. And I never mentioned this for a long time, you know, and I started having nightmares about her.
Yeah, I bet.
And
man.
I woke up kicking and screaming, and one night yelling about the Gray Lady. And my fiance was like, "What did you just say?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she started saying, you know, gray hair, long face, like her hair and her clothes are all the same color. And she's like, "Does she walk backwards as she walks away?" And I was like, "Oh my God, you've seen her too, you know?" And she's like, yeah, I've seen her. And she is so terrifying. She doesn't talk. All she does is moan. She'll just jump on you and hold you down. And like I said, after I seen her the first time, she gives me nightmares. She's in my nightmares all the time.
So you still living in this house? You still live in this house right now?
For the moment. And we're in the process of moving.
Yeah, I never understood that. Like, I mean, I get it why you can't move. There's all kinds of reasons, financial reasons, job reasons, just tons of stuff. But like, it was one of the first things I remember when I watched Poltergeist. It was like, look, I don't know why these people want to stay in their house, you know, like, why don't the hell then just get out? Right. So
Right.
that's what, if you're really scared, right. And to me, if someone really scares the hell out of you, then you get out, you know, you just leave the house. But, you know, I thought that
And
when
I
I was
did
younger.
for a little while.
So you went back to that?
I have went back. And after I faced my fears and stuff, it kind of became like an experiment, I guess you could say. You know, I wanted to see what was going on. I'd have friends over, see if they could hear it or see it. Just to kind of confirm that, hey, I'm not going crazy here, you know. But I know this is going to sound strange, but this house almost has like a strange hold on me. Like, I can leave and move away, but I always come back to this place. Always.
Like, do you feel like is it just pure curiosity, you think?
A little bit of curiosity and something like, every time I leave, I start to get sick.
Yeah, that is strange.
I moved to Virginia once, and I lived down there, and everything was going good. Then all of a sudden, I got super sick, and my temperature skyrocketed again, and they couldn't keep them down. And they ended up bringing me back to Ohio to my regular doctor and get me fixed up eventually. But I just stayed here. I didn't even go back. And then another time we was getting ready to go to Louisiana for Katrina. We was going to go do relief work down there during that time. And we made it halfway there, and I ended up getting sick again. And I turned around and come home. And as soon as we did, I thought I got better.
Do you have any children, Guy?
No, I don't.
Yeah, because I was wondering, like, if I had kids, what I'd do about that. It's cool if you don't. I'm just curious. So that stuff that y'all dug up underneath the house, you dug up some stuff, right? What did you guys find underneath there?
Well, it was a room that was filled with dirt. And I thought, well, this could be a whole extra spot for the basement. It's a 12 by 12 room, if not bigger. And so I said, well, let's dig this out, you know, and I got an extra spot for storage. And when we knocked the block wall down, my brother-in-law, which is this guy that's in the YouTube video, found this jar in the block wall. And this jar was from 1942. It said, "Win the war." Of course, that's all in the video. But anyways, we kept digging back in there. And we found a pair of pants, a dress, and we found bones in them.
Oh, my God.
And, yeah. And I was having a Christmas party that night, okay? So I said, well, listen, let's just leave this for now until I can figure out who to call and figure out what to do. You know, I said, let's just, you know, I got people coming in like 3 hours. I was like, we need to get ready and cleaned up. And I said, let's just leave it for now until we can figure out what to do. And that night I had probably, I don't know, I'd say between 15 and 20 friends over here. And we was just drinking some beer, playing cards. And what happened, I'll never forget. And I've never before or since seen 3 grown men with a fear of God in their eyes run out of this place.
What happened? What'd you see?
Well, there was a couple kids that lived here with me at the time. It was my girlfriend's kids at the time that was living here.
Mm-hmm.
And the oldest boy, Chucky, come down the steps saying he was scared for his brother Johnny. He was, you know, scared of the bad man and all this. And we just told him he was having a nightmare. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, he goes in there and he lays back down, goes to sleep, and 15 or 20 minutes goes by, and then it sounds like the TV up here comes on. And mind you, all we had was a floor model TV. 6 and 9, no cable, and just 6 and 9. And it almost sounded like it was full blast, and then it starts reverberating, like getting louder and louder. And you hear like an old phone ringing, like ring, ring. And you hear this woman answer, and she's like, hello? Hello? Who is this? Who is this? And then it flips over to this static station thing. This guy's preaching about necromancy and messing with the dead, and then it flips back to this phone ringing, ring, ring. And then she's like, says some things. And then all of a sudden, everybody was like, hey, somebody's got to go get that boy. So my friend and my cousin start going across there, and they get halfway around the kitchen and getting ready to start to head up the steps. Well, the next thing you know, you hear, it just sounded like the whole house was made of speakers, and then something said, stay the F out of there. In like the most deepest, darkest voice that you can muster in your imagination. And they come running out of here, and I didn't get to talk to them for weeks after that.
Wow. So does what part of Ohio is this in? What city, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
It's in Barnesville.
Boardsville, Ohio, on Church Street, right? Bondsville, sorry. Do you have people that ever come up to your house and try to investigate it, knock on your door and say, we're here, we want to check things out? Do you work with other people, or do you tell them to, take a walk?
Well, not say come knocking on the door, but I've had people contact me and want to investigate it stuff. And because we're still living here and stuff at the time, it was kind of like, well, not ready for that yet, but I mean, yeah, well, I think I'm going to open up the doors for it after we move out.
Yeah, again, I can't imagine like if that actually happened to me. I'll tell you all the stuff. I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of skeptical about the ghost boxes and stuff like that. But the way you did it, the way you were doing those ghost boxes, it seemed like you had it to where, it's pretty clear about what you can hear. But to me, it's kind of like, when someone sees a picture in a cloud and they think it's the Virgin Mary or something, right? Well, and this
Absolutely.
this is just me though, right? When I see people using ghost boxes, and I've had them on the show, we've had sessions and sessions where we've done these things, and there was only one time where something freaky really happened to me. But other than that, it seems like people hear something and they make like they spout out the closest word that they thought they heard. Now, I could be wrong about that.
Right.
You've used these things a lot. So how do you tell the difference? How do you tell if these things are actually talking to you?
Well, I like to ask redundant questions, like what town we're in, what was the building used to be, things that the spirit would know. Like the one we did last night, we was in Barnesville, and we was in an old sewing factory. And I said, do you know what town we're in? And it immediately said, we're in Barnesville. Plain as day. There was no if, and, or buts about it. That's what it said. And then I asked what this place used to be, and it said factory. Is it pareidolia? Is it audio pareidolia? I mean, I think sometimes in some cases it could be. It just depends on if you're really forcing your mind to try to, but I don't do that. I just let it talk, and I try to interpret what it says. Sometimes I do think what comes through could be like garbled words that you just can't make sense of. But
right.
There is things that does come through that is talking. Something is talking, and I agree. And I don't trust a lot of the apps that's out there, like the ghost session apps and stuff, but a lot of them do work. There is a lot of good ITC stuff out there that will work. And like the one time that we used it, we went to this area around here. It's known as Egypt Valley. And the story of Egypt Valley around here is about a young girl named Louisa Fox that was murdered by her boyfriend. She was 13 years old, and he was the very first man hung in Belmont County. Okay? And we're in Egypt Valley, and we're just driving through with the box open, not asking any questions or nothing. And we all heard it plain as day. Hello, my name's Louisa. I was murdered. plain as day. We wasn't even nowhere near her grave or nothing, and we wasn't even thinking about her. So, yeah. But in today's world, it pays to be skeptical sometimes.
Sure, yeah. Because, look, I believe things are interfacing, right? But most of the time, and this is just my experience, most of the time, it's stuff you see out of the corner of your eye, or like orbs. We see orbs all the time, right? I believe in those. Stuff you see out of the corner of your eye, and you look and you go, what was that? Sometimes you're sure, like the out-of-body experience, but I do believe in paranormal activity. Here's what I think, and since you investigated a lot, I think that paranormal activity is actually a lot more rare than a lot of people would like, because when you get on YouTube and stuff, it's everywhere. Everybody's having paranormal activity all the time. They can't all be telling the truth, but they can't also all be lying either. And so I feel like that it's more rare than we think. So like in your case, you might actually have a rare case of a haunting. If somebody was buried underneath that house, which is, I can't imagine why in the hell somebody would do that unless they murdered them and tried to hide the body, then it probably is haunted, Yeah.
And that gets deep into the book. We uncovered a lot of evidence, and I put in a lot of groundwork into that book, and we found out some pretty wild things that probably happened here. Now, a lot of it probably is kind of speculation, but I really don't have an explanation for what else it could be.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get a little bit deeper into this story. Now, during the break, I'm going to try to get the phones up if you guys got any questions for Guy or me while we're going to the break. I apologize about the mishap there in the beginning. Got some announcements to tell you about coming this week. Some really, really cool stuff. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Howdy, this is Catalina, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
This is Corbin, son of the one and only Joe Roop, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
I'm Ryan Gable, and I want to remind you to keep your radio, phone, tablet, or computer tuned to The Fringe FM, and visit the website, thefringe.fm, to listen to the entire lineup of shows. You can also catch my broadcast, The Secret Teachings, Monday through Friday, beginning at 12 a.m. midnight U.S. Pacific Time, right here on The Fringe FM.
Food was different 60 years ago. It was minimally processed, free of pesticides. It was nourishing and healthful for your body. Today, GMOs, pesticides, herbicides, and heavy processing have depleted the nutrition of our food supply, which takes a toll on our health and energy. It's harder than ever to get the right nutrition. That's what Life Change Tea is meant to counteract. Our specially blended, powerful herbal formulas can give you more energy without caffeine. It's a mild cleanse, a mild daily detox. A good detox can help revive and bring back the energy of your youth. GetTheTea.com is the website. It'll cleanse you from the inside out with this herbal proprietary formula. Go to GetTheTea.com. There's no fillers, no GMOs. It's organic. Not available in stores. You must go to their website, GetTheTea.com. And their supplements are a great way to maintain your health. Read the testimonials on the website. Go to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to The Fringe FM. Have you heard? She's coming. So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on The Fringe FM. See you then.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that I tested. Apparently, we're still having some cable issues, but I do test everything. I test everything before we start these shows. And I was sitting there rambling and realized I wasn't going through. So I got some kind of a weird glitch or short going through, but we're going to make it through here. And it is kind of weird, Guy. I know you bring it up, and I'm not one to jump on these types of things. Trust me, I don't believe in it's weird energy. But I tested my stuff. Everybody that knows me knows I test my equipment before I do the show, and everything was fine. And now it's all messed up, man. I don't know if you break my studio here or what, or we shouldn't talk about the subject. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. It's pretty strange.
Does that happen to you a lot?
Things like that happen. Yeah, it does.
Well,
yeah.
If I was to come over to your house and visit, right? Like what would be like one of the things that happened to me? Well, how would I first know that the house is haunted?
I would probably send you into the basement.
Straight to the basement.
In the dark. Straight to the basement in the dark. Just sit there in a chair in a room in the dark for as long as you can.
Well, I'm scared of the dark, brother. I wouldn't last very long. The dark scares me already, just the way it is, right? So I don't know if I don't even know how that would work. I really don't. I think, yeah, go ahead.
We did it one night for an experiment, when we investigated this place. And every one of the team members had to go down there and sit in the dark. And the most of them made it was about between 5 and 7 minutes. That was about the average. And for the most part, every one of them had to come up out of there. It's like, man, heck with that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I totally understand that. It looks like we got a phone caller, 740 area code. I'm hoping the phones work. Who are we speaking with?
Hey, I'm Sarah. I was just actually trying to listen to the show.
Yeah, hey, Sarah.
I don't know how I got through, but I did.
Yeah, how can we help you? Are you just calling to listen?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's all.
Oh, okay. Well,
going in to listen, and I don't know, got crossed in lines or something. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, see, a lot of weird stuff's happening.
But while I'm on here, hello to everybody.
This is the call-in line, but there is a call to listen line, which is from TalkStream Live, which is 701-719-3971. If you don't have, like if you can't use the internet app or you can't use the Fringe FM app or the website at the pop-out players or TuneIn, all that stuff that we got, you could always use that call to listen line. It's 701-719-3971.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Hey, Guy, what's up? All right. Thank you.
Hey, what's up?
Apparently that person knows you, right? Do you know who that was? Who was that?
I'm not sure. What did they say the name was?
Sarah.
Sarah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she was actually a medium that was in the documentary, I think, if it's the same Sarah.
Yeah, yeah. So
I have an aunt named Sarah, too, so...
Yeah, just to be clear, the call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. That's to call in and talk to me or the guest, and then there's a different call to listen line. But, every now and then people will get out somewhere where they don't have data and they got to use those type of things. So, anyways, this is your only book, right? You haven't written anything else as far as books go, right? This is it?
I've written another book, and I'm getting ready to release it soon. But it's more about traveling around Ohio and writing about the strange tales that I came across, and different things and stories and local legends from this area also.
Now, when you were at the bottom in the basement down there, and I'm bringing back up your very first video, that's the one that got the most hits on YouTube, right? That's the one everybody was talking about. I put it in the chat room and there's already people trying to pick it apart. But let's see.
Hey, that's fine. I mean, hey, it is what it is. I mean, it's.
But you know what? When I looked at it, when I looked at the picture, usually what'll happen is if somebody's faking a video, right, or if somebody's trying to debunk you, you'll see something that reveals that they're actually human, right? Whatever the hell was on that thing's face, the face did not look right. It didn't look like a mask. It didn't look like a normal human's face. It kind of looked like Momo. I don't know if you know what Momo looks like, but that's kind of what the face looked like to me. Did it have a messed up face when you were there? When you saw it?
Yes. Yes.
What did his face look like?
And
I know you probably only looked at it for a second.
And there's a story behind that, too. And, yeah. And it's, I know it's easy to pick apart paranormal, but here's the thing. If you watch that video really, really closely, you will see a white light fly in the back of his head right before he freezes up. Like right before he starts saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. You'll see it manifest behind him. You'll see this white light fly like right in behind him, and right where that light goes is where she manifests or whatever it is. But I was told by someone that her name was Stella. And when we started doing research, we found out that there was a Stella that lived here. And the story is that there was a tobacco house out back, and they would use acid wash to clean the tobacco house out every year before they would harvest the tobacco. And the story is that the acid somehow fell off the shelf and hit her in the face and disfigured her.
Oh my God. See, that makes, so could you verify that in history? Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I know her last name and everything.
Because, all right, so if you guys go to the fringe.fm/chat, you go up to the video, you can see, I could definitely see that. Yeah. Think about that. That's weird. I wonder if they could, now I'm starting to think about things like, did they keep her in the basement because she freaked people out in public? You know what I'm saying? I know that sounds bad, but
that's almost what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, that is nuts, man. So, because when I watched it, it made my heart like skip beats when I saw it, because it was just like you were using night shot, right? When you were using that video, just like a night shot camera.
Yep, just a cheap like Sony Handycam night shot. Yeah, That's it. And we just had a bulb on in the basement, like as a light source. That was it. And
Man.
yeah, it's some of the best evidence I've ever seen personally. I mean, to me, just because I know it's real, and if you watch it closely, like I said, you'll see it manifest. You'll see that white light fly in the back of his head, and then you'll see it peek around his shoulder a couple times before it comes into full view.
Yeah, I've never seen anything
also,
come into camera like that, though. That was pretty clear.
Yeah, and if you watch the video from the beginning to the end, the camera pans that back wall 2 or 3 times. There's nothing there.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose you could have somebody like duck around and stand up or whatever, but to me, like, why would somebody, I don't see why somebody would go through all of that stuff, then write a book and hope that nobody finds out they faked it, right? That don't make sense to me. Right. I think it really happened.
Yeah, I swear to God on my mom and dad's grave, that's just who I am. And
so have you seen her since then?
No.
Gone. That was the only time. Huh?
Well, not saying she's gone. I'm just saying we don't go to the basement very much.
What about like EVPs? Have you tried to take that where you just record the silence and see what you get from there?
Yep. We've gotten her name come across before, and yeah, and we've gotten get out, stay out. There's an EVP that we caught in that video. If you watch that video again, and right when my brother-in-law was saying, I can't remember dates and times, and the camera kind of pans right towards that plastic, and you hear that plastic moving around, listen to the voice right in there. It's right behind me. Right when he says, I don't remember dates and times, you hear a man's voice say, you know nothing.
Wow, man. Yeah, see, I would have had to get that. I should have got some of those audio clips I can play them for people. But I'm just, to be honest with you, man, like I am not what you call a paranormal enthusiast. Like I don't go out and try to find this stuff. It's like not my favorite thing in the world. What I'm trying to figure out is what's real and what's not, right? And I think that sometimes, based on my studies and my experience, that these things get trapped. Like they get stuck in between worlds or whatever. There's just too many accounts of it. There's accounts of like Robert Monroe and the Institute of Noetic Science, and everybody reads about this stuff, right? And it seems like tortured souls get stuck in between worlds and they need help passing along. But I don't know do you feel like that she could see you when you saw her? Like, did she notice that you saw her?
You know what? I don't know. I never thought about that.
You didn't take the time. You didn't take the time to find out, didn't you? You got the hell out of there. I saw that.
I got that. I'm telling you what, I about pissed. I hope I could say this on the air, but I about pissed myself when I seen that thing.
Now your buddy,
I mean, you can hear it in my voice.
Your buddy said that he felt somebody grab him too, right?
Yeah. And if you watch real closely, you'll hear him say, is your cat down here? Because he felt it coming right up behind him. And I'm like, no, my cat's not down here. Because he's like, feeling it. You know what I'm saying? He's like, he thought he just seen my cat. And he thought he felt it rub up against him. And that's when, I'm like, no, my cat's not down here. And that's when he leans back and you just see it full force. And
do people in your neighborhood think you're weird, Guy?
Oh, well, not so much now. But when I was growing up, they always thought I was a weird kid because of what I was seeing and stuff.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, if I saw something, I wouldn't say nothing to anybody. I was too afraid they were going to judge me for it back then, But now, if I could go back, I'd do it again. I'd tell them what I saw.
Right. Well, what's funny is for the longest time, I never told my story. I didn't want to be known as that, the paranormal guy, I didn't want people to know what the things that was going on in my life at that time. But at the same time, I couldn't help but be like, man, this stuff is real. You guys need to see this, you know? This is real. This is real stuff. And whatever it is, I don't know, but it's definitely something, you know, it's tangible.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I feel the same way when I try to explain the out-of-body experience, because there's 9 million people that tell me it's a dream, and there's all these people that say it's this or that, and I'm like, no. I've had many dreams, many dreams. I've had vivid and lucid dreams, super vivid dreams. This was different. Like, this was something different, and I can't explain it either. All I want to do is talk about it and figure out what the hell's going on, but I can't explain it. So, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just hard to explain to someone that's immediately closed off to that, you know? And I think that's why some people experience spirits and stuff and some people don't. I think some people are just so closed off by their beliefs and by what they was taught or whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That they just don't, they're never going to have that experience. It's not until they open up the possibility in their mind that it might be real that they might have an experience.
Do you think that'll actually allow them to, well, I would say allow them to see it, but I saw what you guys saw. And if that was real, right? And I'm not saying I don't believe you. It's just, I feel like it's real, right? If that was real, yeah, that face was real, then we are definitely in some type of strange and odd world that we do not understand. And these things are interfacing with us somehow, some way. And it didn't talk or anything. Like, I didn't hear it make any sounds. Did it make any noises?
No sounds at all. No. And like I said, if you watch it, you'll see its head there. It pokes its head around his shoulder a couple times before I even notice it. Before it comes into full view, you'll see its head pop around its shoulder a little bit there a couple times. We didn't even see that until after we rewatched the video. You know, I'm like, oh, look there, I can start to see it manifest. Boom, I see it manifest. And then it's in full view.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw it like when you didn't even notice it the first time. That was funny.
Right.
And I know that I wanted to say this, and I want to say this before I forget about it. And I know it's just kind of like off topic and it's beside the conversation and everything. But because we had such a crazy start, it totally slipped my mind. We lost John Jeter, which was one of our news guys for paranormal radio for Jeremy. And he also helped us with the news as well. He passed away, I believe, yesterday. And so all our thoughts and prayers go out to them, Jeremy and John's family. I know Jeremy's really shaken up over it because they were buddies for a long time. So I want to make sure that I get that out. And I had to say that. I know it's kind of off topic, and I apologize, but if I wouldn't have said it, I would have forgotten about it.
My thoughts are with everybody.
So here's what I want to know next. How do I, and I know this is kind of like a morbid curiosity, but what do I need to do to be able to see stuff like that? Because there's this sick thing in my head that kind of wants to see stuff like that, but at the same time, I got the other voice in my head telling me, you don't really want to see something like that. You don't really want the hell scared out of you. But I do, because I want to know. I'm willing to go through it. Do you think if I just tell myself, like verbally, and say, okay, I want to see entities and spirits, I'm open to it, that they'll just show up? Or do you think we're just born with stuff where we're able to see certain things?
You know, I think that, like, you know, near-death experiences and things like that opens you up to it. But I think that if you sat there and thought about it and concentrated on it and, you know, like even meditated, you know, and eventually you very well could. I believe that we all have a psychic ability that's latent inside of us, you know. And I think that ability can come out if you know, coach it to enough. I guess you could say. Not coach, that's not the right word. But go to a scary, haunted place that has known activity and just sit there in the dark by yourself and see if you experience anything. And I think eventually you will experience something, especially if you open your mind to it.
Now, what kind of weird things happened to you in this house? Like, I know that, I've looked at your book. Did anything mess with you while you were sleeping there?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
Where you knew it wasn't a dream, though, where you knew something was there?
Yeah, I knew it wasn't a dream. I mean, it was even happening to my sister and my other sister. So, like, everybody in the house was experiencing stuff except for my dad, because my dad didn't believe in it.
Huh. So he thought y'all were just full of it, huh?
Oh, yeah. Many nights I was in trouble because I didn't want to come up here to go to sleep. And, yeah. But one of the worst things was growing up. One of the worst ones I remember that hit me the most, and I've never heard anybody else say this until I wrote about it or talked about it, but I never ever heard anybody talk about it, but I hear it all the time now. Something yanked my blankets off my bed. And then eventually it got to the point where it started yanking me out of bed.
You're a grown man. You telling me it's yanking you out of bed as a grown man, not like as a child, but as a grown man?
Not as a grown man, as a child.
As a child, okay, all right.
As a child, I was getting yanked out of bed. As a grown man, the most experience I've ever felt was the bed vibrating or levitating. That's the most extreme I've ever felt as an adult. I don't know. I was a kid. I was scared to death of it. And I would take off screaming and crying and run downstairs and sleep on the couch or run in my sister's room or, whatever we could do to get away from it. But I'll tell you a story just to show you. Like, I was living here by myself. This was after my dad died, and I was living here by myself. I had all the doors locked. I'm sleeping on the couch. I fall asleep watching TV. All of a sudden, I hear something come through the basement, come up the basement steps. Boom, 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 boom. And then it sounds like it's going through my kitchen. Cupboard doors are open and closing. And for a second, I thought, maybe one of my friends are coming in and trying to mess with me.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the first things I thought. So I yelled, "Hey, that's enough. I'm trying to sleep." No response. Then all of a sudden, I heard it. Boom, boom. Starts walking in towards the dining room, walking in towards the living room. By that time, I'm a little bit freaked out. So I just pull the blanket tight up over my head and pull the blanket tight under my feet. So it's tight, and I'm thinking to myself, man, if this is one of my buddies, I'm punching him right in the gut. You know what I'm saying? Because it's freaking me out by this point. I can hear him breathing, and they walk right up to the edge of the couch, and I feel a hand come down and touch my face, and I come screaming up out of there, kicking the covers around off of me, and there was nobody there.
So what did you do after that? Did you run into your parents' room freaked out?
No, I ended up going to my mom's because I was living here by myself at that time.
And you were, okay,
no,
so
I went to my mom's.
You were younger? This was when you were as a kid, or this when you were older?
This is when I was older.
Okay.
This was as an adult. This was after my dad died, and I was living here in the house by myself.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. Like, you know, we as men, we like to think we're big and tough and we can handle anything. And then, you know, there's a lot of guys that can handle stuff like that. They can. I know them personally. They can handle stuff and nothing scares them. I mean, nothing. But I think there's certain things, there's certain situations where you're not going to be able to handle it no matter who you are. If you're in a house like you're talking about and you're by yourself, you're not really talking to anybody, and this stuff keeps happening to you night after night, you know, I don't blame you for going to your mother's, man. I would went straight to my mom's too.
And that was many a night. And like sometimes when I'd pull in, like when I'd leave through the day and I'd come home after dark and all the lights was on in the house. And then when I pull in the driveway and all the lights turn off in the house, I don't even get out of my car. I just either go straight to my sister's or straight to my mom's. I mean, and that's how it was many, many nights. And it wasn't until like I had buddies that was like, hey, man, I need a place to stay for a couple weeks. So I'd be like, yeah, come on, stay here. You can stay here, man. There's a bedroom upstairs, you know. And they'd be like, I can't live here, dude. I can't stay here no more. I need to get the hell out of here. You know, and it's just like, I understand. I understand.
Do you feel like do you feel like that you've been traumatized from this, honestly?
Yes. Yes, I do, honestly.
If you talk to us well, it's kind of hard to find a psychologist, I guess, to talk about these types of things because they're going to want to tell you that they're going to start asking you questions if you're schizophrenic or something, right? So it's kind of a trap. You don't know what to do.
That's one of the reasons why I studied psychology, is to see if I was, you know, I knew I wasn't crazy, but at the same time, I wanted to see what made us see that. You know, was it something supernatural or is it something that's natural and explainable? And I just didn't like the answers that was coming out of psychology. I was just like, that doesn't even make sense. You know, when you have 3 people in a room and they all see the same thing, well, that can't be a mass hallucination. And when they all explain it in detail, you know, we're all sitting there looking at each other. You know, what is it? What is it then? It has to be paranormal.
How many witnesses do you think altogether that you got that has seen stuff happen at this house or experienced it?
Over 100.
Over 100. That's quite a few.
Well, a lot of my family has experienced stuff, and a lot of friends I've had over the years have experienced stuff. But we have a large family. I mean, throughout the year, and yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to get into some questions here. If you guys do want to call in, it's 1-800-588-0335. You can also text into the show if you want. You can email me at contact@lightingthevoid.com. There's 2 chat rooms over on Spreaker and one at thefringe.fm. Now, I want to tell you guys, too, before we go into break, that the Fringe FM chat room I made it for the Fringe FM, but it seems like I'm the only host that hangs out in there. But the reason why I like it is because over on Spreaker, you can't really do anything. I mean, you can type, and that's it. It's like old IRC chat. But everybody complains about Facebook and all of this, throttling and stuff, and they're blocking my posts. Well, that's why we made it with Discord, because in there, we're the moderators. We control the chat room in there. So, and I'm a member of a bunch of other chat rooms too. So it's a place you can go where, as long as you're cool, you can say what you want, post what you want, and share what you want. Also, coming up this Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, J.D. Lewis is going to be debuting. And I think you guys really are going to want to catch this show because it is awesome. And it is broadcasted and produced out of the KXL studios in Portland, right where Ground Zero is, 7 p.m. Pacific, Wednesday night. And then we're also going to have Surviving the System Thursday night. We'll be right back with Guy McCort. Don't go anywhere.
This is Vance Nesbitt. Take the time to expand your mind by listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop right here on the Fringe FM.
Introducing Shadow Light Tarot from Waking Canvas, the Fringe FM's new contributing artist Eric Tesey. This hand-illustrated black and white self-published deck serves as a reinvention of the tarot, never before witnessed. Each of the several suits of this 88-card deck lineup form an infinite panoramic scene. Even the included visual companion guidebook is entirely hand-illustrated, cover to cover, with beautiful visuals and esoteric symbols and artwork. The newly released deck comes in a custom magnetic box with its own travel pouch. The Shadow Light Tarot Premium Deck and its travel-sized mini deck Wonder Light Tarot are both available now from WakingCanvas.com. If you use the code word FRINGE, that's FRINGE at checkout, you'll receive an extra 10% off your entire order. To discover more, including a free reading and time lapses of all the illustrated artwork, make your way over to WakingCanvas.com today. That's WakingCanvas.com.
This is Crow 777, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of The Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
We've heard your feedback loud and clear. You called it out, and now we're answering. All new live programming, 5 nights a week. Always remember, the Fringe FM is for you, the listener, and we appreciate your feedback. Keep the feedback coming. You can email us at talkback@thefringe.fm, call the station at 501-777-5631, or send us a message on Facebook at The Fringe FM.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Lighting the Void is proud to announce Mind and Magic's Protection and Defense Course for protection from magical and psychic attacks. This is not a joke. Magic practitioners are on the rise, and with that comes attacks from baneful or black magicians that try to harm or hurt others for their own selfish reasons. If you are not a believer in psychic attacks, then this isn't for you. If you are, and you want the power to defend yourself and your family and home, then I highly suggest you grab Freighter Xavier's Protection and Defense Course. In this course, you will learn how to tell if you are under attack from a natural source or if an individual is attacking you. The 4 forms of curses and attacks, how to remove self-imposed curses, the correct way to cleanse your home from negativity or malevolent entities, how to make your own holy water, what you should always keep near or under your bed, herbs that banish negativity and promote purity, the most powerful banishing rituals on the planet, and for those that seem to want to harm you the most, how to put your enemies in a hell pit of their own making. You can also learn protection against shadow people and other entities. Or are you just in a bad planetary alignment? Even how to get rid of an enemy using a tic-tac box. It does not matter what your faith or belief is, this will work. Click the banner on the website at lightingthevoid.com or go to lightingthevoid.com/Xavier.
Alex Exum. This is Alex Exum of the Exum Experience and Live Talk, where we discuss current events, society, and culture. My shows are based in actuality, actual existence, contrasted with what was intended, expected, or believed. You can listen to me live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. only on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Hola, Fringe listeners. This is Dave Cruz of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
You know, this story is compelling to me, especially what he said about how we block things out when we're young, because the more I think about it, the more I really know that I did. I blocked things out when I was a kid. I saw all kinds of stuff when I was a kid. Hell, I had my son on here, and some of you remember that when Corbin got on here as a guest and started telling about all the things that he saw. And my parents would tell me, no matter, because I was freaked out, Guy, they would tell me that, you know, it's all in your mind. You're making this stuff up. You're just seeing this stuff. It's in your brain. You're freaking yourself out. You're scaring yourself, right? But night after night, trying to lay in that room, there were so many nights where I literally had to run through entities, like run through them to get to my parents, you know, and I know what you're talking about, and I think you're right. I think eventually as we get older, we talk ourselves into not seeing these things anymore. And we somehow program ourselves so that we don't see through the veil anymore.
Yep, I believe that.
But you never did that. You still can see it, right?
Right. Sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes I'll just see like a shadow, quick movement. But sometimes, like, I can see a full figure, and I can see what she looks like, and you know, and sometimes it just, like I said, it just looks like a shadow or a sound or a voice. Sometimes it just sounds like a little bit of whisper, like, and you can't quite make out what it's saying.
That was something that I used to get all the time, man. Like, I thought, I'm glad they never made me go see a shrink, but I used to lay down in my bed, and to this day, dude, I still cannot handle complete darkness and silence. It's like there's two types of people in the world. There's people that want complete darkness and complete silence. They want that when they sleep. That's all they want. And then there's people like me, right, that if I can't handle it, and I've always wondered why, silence is a very loud thing to me. And I've always wondered, why is it that way? Well, when I think about it, and you can help me on this subject here, is when I was a kid, I used to lay down and because my parents, they'd make you turn everything out. No night lights, nothing. Didn't matter how old you was. Shut up, go to sleep.
Right.
And
yep,
all I would hear was talking and whispering. And first I would think, is that the fan? And then I would listen. I could hear conversations happening, you know. And it would freak me the hell out, man. I'd have to pull the covers over my head or just pretend to ignore it, pretend it wasn't there, tell myself it's all in my mind. And you wonder why little kids get stuffed animals and teddy bears and they want their friends to stay the night all the time, because they see stuff. I think all kids see and hear stuff. And somewhere along the way, we turned it off.
Yep. And some people would tell you, you know, it's programming of society or whatever. Our parents even telling us that stuff don't exist. It's all in our mind. And so the next time it happens, we automatically think, oh, yeah, it's just this or that, you know. But, yeah, it's not. And I know that's a hard cookie to chew for a lot of people that's skeptical, you know. And it pays to be skeptical sometimes, because I'm a firm believer in the spirit world and everything, but at the same time, I am skeptical of people, because it seems like there's so many people out there that wants to pull the wool over people's eyes. It's hard to believe what's real and what's not.
Now, did you guys ever research on, like, the theories about what's going on there? Did you dig deep into the past of that place? Was a serial killer? Did you look into that to see, were there any newspaper records or anything like that?
The only newspaper records we could find was the ones that was talking about the town, talking about a missing woman or a woman that was chopped up with what was presumed to be an axe. And how we found this story out is, I was talking to a friend, and his parents, well, I didn't know this, his mom was a Perkins. And she starts telling this story about her great-great-great-uncle or whatever that lived somewhere in Barnesville. And mind you, I was young at this time, so I had no no idea, no history, no nothing. Tells me this story, this guy that lived in Barnesville, and he was a axeman for the B&O Railroad around the turn of the century, and that when he died, they found human remains in this cabin that he built. And the family started researching, and he sent home postcards from every place he stopped. And they started researching the dates and the cities on these postcards. And everyone lined up with a woman missing, or they would find her slaughtered. I'm sorry, that's a crude word. But
I mean, if they're slaughtered, they're slaughtered. I know it's crude, but you didn't do it. They did.
No. Yeah. And so they was pretty much forced with the belief that their ancestor or whatever was a serial killer, because what they found in this secret compartment of this cabin of his was pretty much remains of different women that was just chopped to bones, pretty much. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I had no connection to this dude at all, okay? I fast forward. I'm doing research on the home for the book. We come across this guy named W.H. Perkins, okay? And I couldn't find no history on him. I couldn't find no history on him at all. We are remodeling the upstairs, and I have the floor ripped up in the house, in the bathroom. And I see something out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, what is that? And I go over and I pick it up. And it's a letter from the B&O Railroad, 1909, written to a W.H. Gibbs, talking about how that he can become, excuse me, how he can become manager and does no longer have to be an axeman on the railroad. And they don't understand why he won't take this manager or supervisor position. So I started researching W.H. Gibbs instead. And W.H. Gibbs worked for B&O Railroad and was in all those towns where all these people come up missing. And then the only place that I found that they put his name to the murder, to the one murder, was in Pennsylvania.
Wow. So you found the pattern then. You found this guy. Did you go talk to his family? Did you keep looking into it, or what happened with it?
No,
or did you just leave it?
I just left it. I had contacted the family, and they didn't want to talk about it, which I don't blame them, because once they found out I was writing the book, they didn't want to talk to me anymore about it, And of course, I changed the names of, to protect the people involved in it, and it's a pretty crazy, scary story. I mean, we had a couple different psychics in this house a couple times. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't tell them nothing because, again, I am a believer, but I am skeptical at the same time. So I just let them go and see what they get right and what they get wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And because I do know there is real psychics out there. There really is real ones out there. And every single time, oh, who was William? Who's this William? Who's this William? And I'm just like, wow, that's wild. He's still here. He's still here. He wants something. There's something in this house of his that he wants. He's looking for it. What that is, I don't know.
Well, you think so? Have you seen this William character? Right. See, like I've got this feeling that people want to believe this stuff so much that they talk themselves out of actually believing, if that makes any sense. And I don't know. So what freaks me out about this the most, guys, that when we watch a lot of movies, we read a lot of books, we think we live in a world where people like the serial killers, they get caught, they have to end up with their karma and, happily ever after type stuff. But that's not That's not the case at all. There's been countless serial killers that haven't been caught. Take the Zodiac killer for one. That guy's probably dead, never got caught, got to do his sick little life and got away with it. And now you've stumbled upon something where somebody else probably had a sick life and got away with it. And I wonder sometimes, and this is in the movies, but I do wonder sometimes if those spirits, when they come back to visit you, are trying to tell you what happened to them before they can move on. Do you ever get that kind of feeling or hint?
I do. And that's what the thing is. I think they know that sometimes I can see them, and they tried to come to me as a child, I think, and it scared me. I didn't know how to deal with it. I was just scared. It was scary. It's scary seeing things in the dark moving around and walking up to you, you know, especially when you're a kid and this stuff isn't supposed to exist. And I do. I think that's what it was. It was coming to me to try to help them somehow.
Now, you've been in and out of this house all your life, back and forth. And you've had countless experiences, it sounds like. You've put tons of them in this book. Right? If it were me, and don't take this the wrong way, okay? But if it were me, I would be on anti-anxiety medication. I'd be popping Xanaxes every day. How do you live? Do you just become numb to it? Or do you still get scared after a while?
I think I'm just numb to it. I really do. And I mean, and I'm not going to lie, I mean, some nights I still do get freaked out a little bit when my fiance is working midnights. Yeah, there's nights when I'm just like screaming out, leave me the hell alone. You know, I'm not dealing with it right now.
Yeah, I know. I was watching you out in the graveyard doing these remote sessions, and I was hearing you say things like, get off me, you know. And I was like, what's he talking about? Get off me. And I think of your buddy that was filming the camera thought you were talking to him, and you said, no, I can just feel this sumbitch on me, you know. And what did you mean by that?
Have you ever walked into something that was generating energy? This is the only way I can try to explain it.
What do you mean, like a boiler room or what? Like a generator? What do you mean?
Like a generator room. You walk into that generator room and you can just feel that electrical charge. It's like in the air.
Yeah, kind of a little staticky feeling. Sure.
A little staticky. It's like that, but tenfold. It's almost like this heavy energy rush just comes up on you real quick. And it almost feels like somebody's breathing down your neck. Like they're just, like it's right on top of you, just breathing down your neck. And if you kept watching that one in the graveyard, you'll hear me say, you need to get off of me. And it laughs. It goes, ha, 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 ha. And I was like, that's not funny. And he's like, but it was funny.
Yeah, I've heard him. I heard him cuss you out and all kinds of stuff. That's really strange.
Oh, yeah.
So why are they so angry? Do you think they're demons? Possibly. I mean, why do they have so much malintent?
I think because I provoke them a little bit to try to get a response out of them. I think it makes them mad, I think. Because I might say something a little crude sometimes to them just to try to get a reaction to see how they react, you know. And I've had them cuss me out, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about as far as how you can like feel them breathing on the back of your neck, but that really freaked me out when you said that. The only time that I've ever, and I told the story before, so I won't go into it again, but when I was a kid, I did feel somebody grab me before, like just grab my shoulder and squeeze, and I turned around and nothing was there. I really think this, man. The reason why the world's so screwed up is because when we're born, we're like these innocent little babies that are curious and we laugh and everything's cool. But as soon as we move into toddler age and we start becoming aware and cognizant of things, whatever the hell these things are, they instill the fear of the devil in kids. I don't know why, but I think they like to mess with kids. That's just my opinion.
I agree. And I do think that there is, I don't like using the demon word, but I do believe that there's negative entities that are influences people's daily lives every day. I think that some people get so attached and so oppressed by things that it affects their lives to the point to where, I mean, like, you look at the rate of suicide in the world today.
It's pretty bad, yeah.
You know, it's bad. And when you realize and you think about it, you know, you watch TV and the news and you think that the world's on fire. But when you go out there into the world, you realize it's not like that at all. So, you know, it's people, there is still good people out there in the world. And so when you see that, and you put it against a stark reminder of what's happening daily, what else could be doing that? What's causing that? Is there some sort of negative thing in this world that's controlling people's lives to the point to where they just kill themselves or have bad accidents happen to them? I mean, curses, I don't know. I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a dark subject, but really to deny what you're talking about and is to deny truth. There's a lot of people that are hurting out there, and it doesn't mean, you know, they don't have to be old to be hurting. You know, I had a cousin that killed himself when he was 13 or 14 years old and took his dad's gun and killed himself, and it destroyed my aunt, right? Why would a child do that? Why? You know,
right.
The suicide rates are up, you know, like we had a guy that was on Friday night that looked at the criminal statistics, like a quarter or close to 25% of the people in the United States are convicted felons and locked up. And the rest of us that, you know, where we like to point our fingers at the bad guy and call them criminals, we're all out here on opiates and Prozac and drinking and whatever. We're all self-medicating on something. So something's wrong. And that's what I'm saying. When we're kids, I've seen divinity in babies. I really have. I've seen it. You know, when you look in their eyes after they're born, you'll never see anything like that. And then something happens to them when they become a toddler. Something tries to scare the hell out of them. And I think people say, well, you know, you shouldn't let your kids watch rated R movies, or they're watching Friday the 13th and this and that, and you're putting stuff in their mind. Well, I got to tell you, I was seeing freaky stuff before I even watched a movie. I've got memories of it before I even can remember what a movie was. So there's some kind of weird spiritual warfare going on where whatever it is having to inflict fear on people. And it's like, once they do that, once they set that fear in, now they've put this little thing in their life where, you know, it's going to be easier for them to hurt down the road. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why we all struggle. I'm kind of big into spiritual warfare, but not like, you know, from the Christian point of view or whatever, if that makes any sense to you.
Right. Absolutely. And I do too. I do believe that there is some sort of spiritual war going on around us all the time. I believe that there's a good and there's a bad, and the good is trying to stop the bad from happening, but for some reason or another it can't. And it's just, I think the more as time goes on, is the more and more negativity gets put out into the world, the more and more bad things are going to happen.
Have you ever ran across any good spirits or spirits that seem friendly or that made you feel love around them or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Yep. You know, like, I'll talk to them just like they're a person standing there, and you'll hear them coming through the thing, you know, talking to me, and I've even had, like, giggling conversations with them and stuff, you know, and yeah.
So there could be a battle going on. Who knows, right? So the book is called The Darkness on Church Street, a true story of what happened on that street or at your house, a true story of hauntings in Ohio or of a haunting in Ohio. But I think there's something to that serial killer thing. I wonder what would happen if you actually looked into that more, or maybe answer this if you can. Why did you stop looking into that? Did it feel like maybe it was a bad idea to keep asking questions or to keep trying to investigate that, like you were going to find out something you didn't want to know, or you just didn't care?
No, I did care, because I mean that's something that's history that's forgotten about. It's not talked about. It's not written about, and it's another example of these killers, whatever you want to call them, serial killers that slip through the cracks in time and time again. It happens. You know, look at how many people and how many children and stuff come up missing, you know, around the world every day. And it just makes you wonder, you know, and why? And why would they do that?
Yeah, it would be nice to get a little justice when stuff like that happens. I mean, the face that I saw in that video, and I can't imagine what it looked like in color, but in black and white, it was freaky enough to where I could tell, and I could tell you why I think it's real. And I know there's going to be people in chat and people listening that go, yeah, whatever, Joe. And I'll tell you why I think it's real. When Guy said, look, there's somebody standing behind you, and he just bolted. Number one, he just bolted, right? You didn't take time to explain it. You just bolted. So that felt like adrenaline rush to me. And number two, that face. I feel like I've seen something like that, with a distorted face or just something that's not right about the face. And I feel like it kind of gave me a little bit of deja vu when I was a kid. So it felt very real to me. Now, your buddy kind of didn't seem to be moving that quick. Did he say that it grabbed him, or did he say he saw it?
He didn't see it.
He didn't see it.
He didn't see it at all. No.
When you showed him the video, he saw it, though,
grabbed
right?
Me. Oh, when the first time we seen that video, because it sat on the camcorder for a while after that, because, you know, that night we was having a get-together, and it was Christmas time, and he was drinking, of course, and we've been drinking, of course, and like, he stopped by like a week later or so. He's like, what was that you seen on the camera? You know? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what that was. And he's like, well, pop it up there. I want to see it. And we hooked the camcorder up to the TV, and we're both sitting there watching it. And when when it comes into the view of the camera, we both kind of set up on the edge of our feet and just staring at the TV like, oh my God, like, wow, like, you know, it was like, we caught it. We got it. We caught it on camera.
Yeah. Because you were full of adrenaline.
I didn't even realize we caught it on camera at that time. I just remember seeing it. I'm like, it just showed up in the screen. Like, it scared the crap out of me. I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, we was drinking. We was, you know, buzzed up, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, because I could tell you guys were just chatting away. You know, yeah, that's usually when it happens too. When you start talking about it, that's when the thing pops up. I wonder.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to ask. So this is a really freaky question, and we got to take our break here. But I want to ask, like, this happened after that you guys dug it up, right? After he dug up the bones and stuff. That's when you saw it, right?
No, that happened when we dug up in bones. That was like years ago. That was like not long after my dad died. And that's when all that stuff happened, and the guys fled out of the house. And then we went and contacted a off-duty sheriff, and he come and told me that it was probably animal bones to cover it back up.
They didn't even come look at it?
Oh, he come look at it. But he just kind of told me, he said, we get these calls all the time. And he said 95% of the time it turns out to be animal bones. He said, if I was you, I'd just cover it back up. And you got to realize, this is a small rural town of only about 5,000 people, you know.
Yeah,
everybody knows everybody. Yeah, everybody knows everybody. They knew, you know, that we didn't do it, you know. They knew it was old, and he just said, if I was you, I'd cover it back up. And that's what we did. And then fast forward, all these things still happened. Fast forward several years, that's when I'm like, I need to write a book about this stuff. I need to write a book about the experiences and just the strange life that I've had, you know, because again, like all the loss and all the strange accidents, and some people would even say I have a curse or something, you know. Right. I don't like saying that because I don't like giving them kind of words power like that. But, you know.
Well, you know, it's good to have questions like that, man. And I'll tell you what, if you guys got any questions for Guy, you can call in. The phones are working. It's 1-800-588-0335. The book is called The Darkness on Church Street, a true story of a haunting in Ohio. And it is pretty freaky. If it gets late enough, I might play the audio clip, you know, when the children are asleep. We'll be right back.
This is Justin from the UK. Excuse the chitty. If you're into the Fringe and you want to hear the brass tacks, me old China plate, Joe Roop and his guests on Light in the Void will open your mince pies. You need to shut your north and south and use your 10-speed gears and listen to them bubble. You could hear a Barry Crocker, no Brussels, but he ain't no holy friar. Anyway, you beat a Barnaby Rudge and take a butcher's.
Ahoy there. Gigi here from Shift Happens. Do you like to boogie down to topics such as ufology, the occult, and the mysteries behind our reality? Well, I invite you to join us every Friday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, that's 10 p.m. Eastern, as we like to punch that curiosity button and tickle that fancy. We tickle that fancy, but yeah, you know, I don't know if that's the right analogy, but there's certainly a lot of tickling going on over here at Shift Happens.
From Studio 401, it's the Stranger Than Fiction News right here on The Fringe FM. I'm Vance Nesbitt, and here's our headlines. An unidentified flying object has been filmed from a mountain overlooking the top of the secret U.S. Air Base Area 51 in Groom Lake, Nevada. Hikers scaled Tikaboo Peak in Nevada to overlook the secretive base, which is thought to be where the latest aircraft technology is tested. Speculators claim the mysterious U.S. Air Base has been closed down, but YouTuber Adventures with Christian captured helicopters, trucks, and planes there. And 11 minutes into the 22-minute video, a strange floating white UFO can be seen close to a plane that is entering a hangar, though it is unlikely to be alien activity. A huge new hangar can also be seen, the latest change to the base in almost 10 years. The hangar is approximately 210 feet wide by 250 feet long and is very high. You can see the video and read more of this story at Daily Mail Online. And exorcist bishop pours holy water on an evil city from a helicopter. Ruben Montoya wants to use his position as Bishop of Buenaventura in Colombia to purge the streets of evil. Montoya told local radio station Blue Radio, "We want to go around the whole of Buenaventura from the air and pour holy water onto it to see if we exorcise and get out all those demons that are destroying our port so that God's blessing can come and gets rid of all the wickedness in our streets." Local media reports the National Army supports the bishop's plan and have offered him the use of a helicopter to carry it out. Source, the Daily Star. And our sun can spawn dangerous super flares, according to a new research. High-energy superflares are typically associated with young, quickly rotating stars, but new evidence suggests mature floating stars like our own can still churn out the odd superflare. Stars located hundreds of light years away sometimes belch out powerful energy enough to be detected by astronomers here on Earth, known as superflares. They're like normal strength solar flares, but on a much grander scale. Conventional thinking suggests superflares are produced by young stars that our middle-aged sun, which is 4.6 billion years old, is largely immune to such spasmodic bursts of energy. New research published in Astrophysical Journal suggests superflares can indeed be generated by mature, slowly rotating star like our sun. Source, Gizmodo.com. And here's another fun fact to make the Fringe listeners the smartest in the world. The word go is the shortest complete sentence in the English language. Thanks for listening to the Stranger Than Fiction News right here on the Fringe FM. Again, I'm Vance Nesbitt, news anchor and sorcerer.
Greetings, galactic community. This is Suzanne Ross, host of Sci-Spy Radio, every Wednesday evening from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific. Join me for this brand new show featuring a revolutionary new genre, sci-spy, merging science and spirituality to give us answers to the greatest mysteries of creation. Together, scientific discovery and spiritual revelation reveal the truth about who we are, where we came from, why we're here, and where we're going. Tune in to Sci-Spy Radio every Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific and discover the truth for yourself at thefringe.fm.
This is Elle. I listen to Lighting the Void because it's interactive radio with good content, interesting guests, and a humble host, sharing this journey through the esoteric. Hey, Joe Roop. Thanks for having us along for the ride.
Thank you so much for a delightful evening.
Well, I got a lot of ground to cover.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
All right, we're back live on the Fringe FM. I'm Joe Roop, and we're here with Guy McCort, author of The Darkness on Church Street, True Story of Hauntings in Ohio. We've been discussing some of what he's been going through, and it looks like we have a caller on the line. Looks like 504 area code. You're on the air. Who are we speaking with?
Hey, Joe. It's Dre from New Orleans.
Hey, Dre. What's on your mind?
I have a question. I was wondering, I remember him saying how the whatever was in that house would pull the blanket off of his bed while he was sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ever wake up in a different place than when he went to sleep? Like, he said it pulled him off the bed too, but did he ever, not know he was pulled off the bed and just wake up somewhere else?
Yes.
Was he ever moved while sleeping?
Yes.
Can you hear him?
Yes, okay. It's funny you ask that, because I've never mentioned this yet, but sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night and my blanket would be gone, okay? And out here in this bigger room, there was always a blanket folded up on the bottom of the bed. And I would go out there, grab that blanket, go back to my bed, and I would wake up with my blanket. Or sometimes I would wake up in this bedroom over here. No idea how I got here or what. It's funny
okay, because I've never
that.
heard anyone else talk about that either. Because that happened to me when I was a kid, and I just thought it was something that a kid brain made up. You know?
You mean it happened to you personally? Like you wake up in different parts of the room?
Yes, it even happened when I was camping once. I woke up in my sleeping bag with my pillow outside of a raised platform tent.
Oh, God, yeah. Did people say you were sleepwalking? Wow. Did anybody say, oh, yeah, you sleptwalk? Or no one knew how you got there?
No one knew how I got there. Because, how are you going to walk in a sleeping bag? Like, it was still fully zipped up, and I was inside of it with my pillow. Like, that doesn't make sense. But it would happen at my house, too. Like, I'd wake up across the room on the floor sleeping somehow.
Wow.
And that doesn't happen to you anymore? Like, when was the last time it happened to you? When you were a toddler or when you were, like, 12 or what?
No. The last time, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't too long ago. Yeah, that's a little freaky.
No,
you need to set some video cameras up.
Yeah, it was before I ever started learning about any kind of spiritual path or anything, and it hasn't happened since I began educating myself about lots of things.
Very interesting. Well, thanks for sharing that, Dre. That just validates what's been going on, because you said you never heard anybody else talk about that before, so pretty fascinating. I wonder how many people that happens to. Yeah, thanks for your call. Did you get your T-shirt, by the way? Yes. Have you got it yet?
I did. I did. It's awesome. I'm going to set a picture and see and wearing it. Thanks again. And,
let's see those glam shots. Yeah, you have a good one. All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye.
So it is. So yes, to me, stuff like that, it's validating even more it happens. And we all have this stuff happen to us. We just kind of shoo it off like it's nothing. But I would say, guys, after that experience of seeing the messed up face behind your buddy there in the basement, I know during the break you were telling me that, you had quite a few nightmares after that. How long was it before you could actually go back down there? I would never go back down there if it was me, but maybe you're
honestly
different.
it was months before we went back down there. Like, we have a trap system for the furnace, and you have to empty it and dump it down the drain every 2 weeks or so.
Pretty old house?
Yeah, old house. And I would run down there and hurry up and run back up. And that would be the only time I'd go down there. Summertime, I don't even go down there.
Why not in the summertime? Just because
I don't have to.
Oh, you don't have to go down there?
Yeah, I don't. I don't have to go down there. So
it's that bad, huh? See, I want to go down there and see. Like, if it was me, even though I'm kind of a wimp, I wouldn't last long. But there's something in me that I wonder what that weird thing is. You studied psychology. What the hell is that makes us want to be scared? And then once we get scared, we wish we wouldn't have done it. Like, why are we so fascinated with that?
I think that has something to do with a little bit of the rebel spirit that's in us all. It's something that we shouldn't dwell on, but we do. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's almost like that childlike thing again, to where it's so, you're not supposed to be doing that, but at the same time, you can't help yourself but want to go do it.
Yeah, especially graveyards and stuff. You always hear about stories when teenagers and people want to go out to graveyards. I think what you said, they got curfews where you live, right? Like we don't have that out here in Arkansas. I mean, you can go to a graveyard at night if you want. But I got to think the reason why they put curfews at graveyards is because people go out there and do stuff, rituals, screw stuff up, and they make things bad for people trying to pay their respects or do investigations like you. But you've had people talk to you out there, like say their names while you're around their tombstone. I seen that. That's pretty freaky, man.
Yep. It is pretty freaky. And, and I've had a lot of people come up to me and be like, Guy, I've been doing ITC for years. I've been doing research for years. I've never seen one-on-one talking interaction like you get. And to me, I thought it was normal. You know, I just thought, I'm having a conversation with spirits. This is normal. But when you see a lot of people that do ITC research and stuff, it's not normal. They pause, and then, you know what I'm saying? Very rarely do you see somebody sitting there having a two-way conversation with something. And it makes you wonder, well, what's going on? Why is it that way? Is it that way because of my near-death experience? I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, what about you said it, these things used to mess with your family. Now, when you get where you're protective, like I've got 2 half-sisters and a half-brother. I don't know them very well, honestly. We kind of separated when we were children, but I'll always have that love for them, and I'll always protect them. It's one thing when somebody's messing with me, but when they're messing with my family, it's a whole nother thing. Did you ever get to where you felt like you were in a fight or a battle with them?
Yeah. Yeah, especially when my little sister would come running into my room at night screaming, please, please, they won't leave me alone. They won't leave me alone, you know. And then that's when I would go into her room until she would fall asleep, and then I would have something happen, and then I would run downstairs.
How old was she?
It took a long time.
How old was she when those things started happening to her?
Right around the same time I started seeing them. She's a year younger than I am. Right around 8 or 9.
Meanwhile, your dad's telling you that it's all crazy and you're not actually seeing it, right? So that's probably even more frustrating.
Right. And what's wild is my mom was seeing it too, but we didn't know that at the time. My mom was seeing things and having things happen to her, and my dad kept telling her she was crazy, there was no such thing as ghosts, and she kept having stuff happening, and that her aunt lived a few houses up, and she come over, and she was very staunch in her ways too, like, oh, Bonnie, you're just staying in this big old house by yourself late at night, you know. And then she seen something too and had experiences too, and that's when she was like, okay, get the kids, let's get out of here. And, you know, and when somebody like that has an experience, that's powerful. That's something powerful. It's hard to put into words.
Why did your mother not tell you? Was she afraid of what? I mean, was she afraid of what your father was going to think of her? Or when did she open up and tell you that she was seeing things too?
When I was an adult.
She waited till that long, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I would have been a little pissed off about that. If it was me, I'd have been just a little bit upset. I'm like, come on, you let me take those lashings and having people tell me that I'm out of my mind, and you were seeing stuff the whole time too? Yeah.
Well, see, she left here when I was like 4 years old.
Oh,
that was one of the reasons why her and my dad got divorced, was because of this house.
Yeah, so this stuff just has been causing all kinds of hell in your life, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
and you know,
we're going to talk about that later in the week with one of our listeners, and kind of a very well-known listener is Barbara, that she deals with paranormal trauma, and paranormal trauma is not something that I've ever even considered was a real thing, because to me, I'm just still trying to figure out if some of this stuff is real or not. But the fact that there's a whole subject matter around the trauma of it tells me that it's real. It sounds to me like you went through a little bit of it, man. I mean, if it messes with your family, it messes with your life, it messes with your friendships. I mean, how long do you keep friends before they say, look, I can't take this anymore, man, I'm out, you know? You see what I'm saying?
I have no friends that stop by and hang out no more.
It just freaks them out.
They'll call me and
much.
be like, yep, they don't even want to be here. Like, it's, yeah.
Well, I hate that that's so sad. But I can tell you this, the people at the Fringe FM will always be friends to you, man. You know, we may be on the internets, we may be on the interwebs, but we'll always be friends to you, because that is a sad state of affairs. I'd like to think you at least got one person that hangs out with you, because, man, I don't see how anybody could deal with this kind of stuff on their own. Did writing the book help you deal with it? Did it help you get some of this stuff off your chest?
Yeah. Yeah, it helped me deal with a lot of the trauma that I experienced, you know, like losing my dad and losing my mom and losing my little brother and losing nephews and nieces and friends and you know, I contributed it all to this house, but that could just be me, you know, trying to come up with an explanation for everything that's happened here, you know. And I do have a friend that stops by and hangs out here still, and he's Ryan, and he's one of our main team members on the Valley of Darkness page. And he was a non-believer before he started hanging out here. Really? I got him into the paranormal. Yeah, he was like, this is wild. When he started coming here, he started experiencing stuff, and that's when he started going out and investigating with us all the time and stuff. Yeah, it was, yeah.
Well, we do live in a world of skeptics, and frankly, I'm glad that they're skeptics. I really am. I'm totally glad that they're skeptics. I've got a lot of friends that are skeptics, hardcore skeptics at that. But at the same time, what I always tell them, and what I would tell whoever's listening, is that if you are a skeptic, but imagine yourself living a life where this stuff was real, right? I mean, why do you think so many people like superhero movies and movies about X-Men and Superman and all this other stuff? It ain't really about their powers. It's about what they go through in life and all the character plots of everything, because I think there are people out there going through stuff like what you're going through, and they don't really belong with the rest of society. I mean, everybody else is worried about Trump and, you know, the military and the economy and what they're going to buy for dinner, while, you know, you're just trying to get the damn demons out of your house, man. That's got to be a rough life, brother.
It's not been an easy one. I mean, you know, it's I try to look for the good in everything, but it's been a journey.
Well, you know, I appreciate you coming on the program. I don't know how long, if you can stay or if you want to stay, or we'll let you go, but I want everybody to check out the book regardless. I know that there's how many chapters is in this book? Just out of curiosity. 5
chapters.
And is it all just stories about what you saw, or does any of it have your life in there?
It goes from the beginning to the end, up to the point to where I finished the book.
All right.
It goes from when my grandma bought the house in the 40s to rent out, and she couldn't keep it rented. And then it goes into when my father ended up with the house, and then what happened to him and his family while living here. His first wife ended up dying of cancer in the home. And then that's when he met my mom and had me and my sister.
So wait a minute, there's a whole nother story before all this stuff happened?
Oh, yeah. This house has decades of paranormal activity. Decades of documented paranormal activity. I mean, I guess not documented, but the stories have been relayed to me by people that my grandma knew, you know. Like the one Roby guy, the father Roby of Stella and Eva, died in the closet. You know, that was told to my grandma when she bought the place. And, you know, it has such a varied history. Even it was a funeral home at one time.
Now, I want to ask you a question. I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but do you ever think that maybe your dad did know something? Maybe he did see something, or maybe he knew more than he let on and just didn't want you messing with it, or just didn't want you looking into it. Did you ever think that?
I believe that. I believe he knew that there was something, and he just didn't want us dwelling on it.
Yeah.
Yep. Because somebody told me years later, after he passed away, that he told his brother he knew there was things in there, but he just didn't want to talk about it or give it power, and he didn't want us to be scared, you know.
And I'm looking into both of the chats here, and I think somebody that knows you is over in our Spreaker chat because we stream over there too. I think her name is Charla, and she said that Ryan got scratched once during an investigation, like for real scratched.
Yep, for real scratched. Yep.
That scratching is some weird stuff. I've had a listener, Sammy, send me some pictures of bruises and scratches and just crazy stuff like that. She just, I think, wakes up with it. But I don't know. Was he awake when it happened? Like, were you right there beside him?
Oh, yeah, we was doing an investigation. And there was this real heavy energy in this bathroom area. And I was in there provoking. And then I walked away, and he kind of went in a little bit because he had a camera too, so he just kind of spanned it, and he was like, "Ow!" And I turned around, and I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Man, something's burning me." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Man, something's burning me." And he's looking up, thinking maybe something hot fell from the sky or from the ceiling or something. He keeps looking up around, and we go out into the room, and he lifts up his shirt, and there's 3 scratch marks across his back.
I got people in the other chat saying, "Dude, sell the house." Yeah.
Well,
it's not that easy all the time, is it?
No, it's not. It's like I said, it's been in my family for over 3 generations, and it's just one of them things that's it's hard to part with.
I'm trying to get
the power over me.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, it's like it's almost ancestral, pretty much, right? So I'm trying to get my head wrapped around this.
Yeah.
You said this was once a funeral home, right?
Yep.
It's been in your family for a long, long time.
Yep.
This serial guy killer, was he related to your family?
No.
How long ago do you think this happened?
I think that there was multiple times. I think the serial killer guy was around the early 1900s to 1912 is when he owned this house. From 1912, the McVeighs owned it. And then in the mid-20s was when the Roby family bought it. And the Roby family was here for years. And then that's who my grandma bought the property from, was from the Roby family.
And how many people, I feel like a cop, I'm asking you all these questions, but I'm so curious about this, man, and I hate to keep holding you up here, but how many people said that they had experiences as far back as your grandmother or further?
Oh, my grandma. When my grandma bought the house, we don't know if there was anything going on before then, but my grandma bought the house to rent out, and she couldn't keep it rented. Like, the renters would leave, and she would be left with a house to clean out. And it's sat empty for, I'm pretty sure it sat empty for a long time by the time my dad ended up buying it.
Man, this is fascinating. And the only place that they can get this, is it at Amazon, or is that the only place they can get the book?
Yes, there's Amazon.
That's okay. I mean, it's a good place to get books, man. And it's pretty affordable. Yeah. It's only $8, right? So I think everybody should get it. I'm trying to see right now if there is I think there's not a Kindle version yet, so it's just a regular physical copy, right? The Darkness on Church Street. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a Kindle version on there, and then the publisher, it changed over to a different publisher, so now I got to redo it again, and I will be getting that up soon. I will be getting a Kindle version soon of it up.
If you need help with this guy, if you need help with it, or you need help talking about this book or getting your story out, because I think this is a fascinating story, I would definitely be here to help you, even if you wanted to make it into an audio book or something like that, I could help you with that, because I think I got a feeling that this might be one of the best stories that hasn't been told, although there is quite a bit of trauma to it, from what you're telling me, but I think that's the real part of it. There's a lot of real stuff here. And another thing, too, I want to mention, in your videos, you got a video of you're trying to capture stuff, paranormal activity on tape. And I did watch this video where you captured I think it was the toilet paper was kind of waving in the bathroom, right? And
yeah.
And I was like, well, that could be wind. Well, I went back and looked, and you typed underneath it. You said, hey, this was not paranormal activity. We went and inspected it, and there was some wind coming through the window in the bathroom. Now, fakers, just to let you guys know, for the most part, fakers are going to do one or two things. They're not going to post the video to begin with, or they're going to post the video and stick with their story to try to get subscribers and stuff. So you're not doing that. That's how I can tell. They're just a bunch of little bitty things add up to me. But if I was to come to your house, and because I know people want to know this, because there's a lot of crazy folks out there, especially in the paranormal, man, I'm sure you know, and said, hey, look, I want to investigate your house, would you turn me away? And do you pretty much turn everybody away?
No, I wouldn't turn them away. Especially now that I'm going to be not living here as much, and stuff. I implore teens actually to come and check it out. Come check it out. See what you feel.
Yeah, God, the first thing I would do is figure out if they was a skeptic or not and send them straight to the basement. Just say, hang out down there for a little while, and then tell me when you come back up. Now, have you got anybody that used a FLIR in there where they could see like temperatures and things like that, or is it all just been?
I did have a team come in back in it's been quite a few years ago, and they had FLIR and they caught some good images and stuff, and some of those images are on my page. It's in the older night vision videos. You'll see where I had plastic nailed up over top of that hole in the basement, and you can see it get ripped down. And then you can see like a huge orb shoot out right in front of the camera and make a turn, and it almost looks like there's a face in it. So I have had like investigations here over the years,
Yeah, it always ends up happening around trauma too, I think. I was telling you during the break, David Oman, he comes on the program. I need to talk to him again. It's been a long time, since he's been on the program. But I think when killings happen, like when severe trauma happens to people, like victims, I know it's kind of Hollywood and theatrical, but I honestly think these people stick around because it was so traumatic that it leaves some type of weird energy imprint or something where they have to stick around, and they're either confused or they're trying to tell their story. I could be wrong about that, but that's based on more than just hauntings. That's like out of body books I've read and stuff like that. Now, personally, I've never ran into somebody that was in the afterlife. Not yet. At least I don't think I have. But I think you have. And your story is pretty fascinating, and I really appreciate you coming on the program. It's been really cool talking to you.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure being here talking to you.
All right, guys, go check out the book. Just to be clear, though, you have a Facebook page, right? That's where everybody can find you at as well?
Yeah, I have a couple of them. One of them is the Valley of Darkness Paranormal Chronicles. I also have a Facebook page called The Darkness on Church Street.
Okay, so go check out those Facebook pages. Also, go check out the book, The Darkness on Church Street, A True Story of a Haunting in Ohio. And, Guy, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks, and thanks for having me.
No problem, brother. We'll be right back with some afterthoughts. We'll take your questions and a few more announcements.
those after hunting down a half-ton bison. I look forward to a mind-teetering escapade evening on The Fringe FM.
AncientLifeOil.com. For your CBD needs, just remember, AncientLifeOil.com. What does it do for the body, you ask? I can't say to the people in the suits that run the industry. Big Pharma's all over CBD because of its well, you know what I mean. Research the benefits of CBD on Google and come back to AncientLifeOil.com and purchase your CBD today. Non-GMO and all organic. You don't want to be using a petroleum product. You want to be using the cleanest CBD product on the market. AncientLifeOil.com. We even have CBD for your pet. Help your pet's discomfort. Help your discomfort. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Newly reduced prices to pass off the savings to the most important person. You. AncientLifeOil.com. And one more thing, we have topicals too. So if you have joint pain and some different issues that are going on in your body, you might want to use a topical. Think about it. AncientLifeOil.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you're interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of The Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
You know, food was different 60 years ago. It was minimally processed, free of pesticides. It was nourishing and healthful for your body. Today, GMOs, pesticides, herbicides, and heavy processing have depleted the nutrition of our food supply, which takes a toll on our health and energy. It's harder than ever to get the right nutrition. That's what Life Change Tea is meant to counteract. Our specially blended, powerful herbal formulas can give you more energy without caffeine. It's a mild cleanse, a mild daily detox. A good detox can help revive and bring back the energy of your youth. GetTheTea.com is the website. It'll cleanse you from the inside out with this herbal proprietary formula. Go to GetTheTea.com. There's no fillers, no GMOs. It's organic. Not available in stores. You must go to their website, GetTheTea.com. And their supplements are a great way to maintain your health. Read the testimonials on the website. Go to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
Hey, it's Jeremy Scott. Now hear me on KTLK The Fringe FM. Live Saturdays at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. You got it.
Oh, man, all kinds of weird stuff's happening. I even got old commercials playing. Yeah, Jeremy doesn't come on at that time. What are we talking about? He comes on at 6 on Saturdays, 6 p.m. Pacific. All right, so real quick, I want to tell you guys about some shows coming up. I'm telling you, Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, you're going to want to be here. So I think all of you know now, I'm hoping that you know that, the network's growing. We're getting more, I always wanted to build a place where hosts wanted to be, proud of where they are, right? That they were proud that they were here. And that's always been why we do this. So when J.D. Lewis, who's, Clyde Lewis's spouse, wanted to do a show and wanted to do it here, I was kind of thrown back. And then after, I've heard some of the demos and some of the production, I'm even more thrown back. So J.D. Lewis, Real Talk with J.D. Lewis, Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time, has raised the bar for the Fringe FM. I want all of, including me, how are we going to live up to this kind of show? The audio quality is great. The production quality is great. The show is fantastic. The demo is fantastic. It's really, really awesome. And so she's really going to knock your socks off, and she knows about a lot. So I can tell some of you guys know that I just like to speak what's on my mind. I'm not this big researcher or journalist or anything. I just tell you what I'm thinking for the most part. You get both with J.D. Lewis. She knows about just about everything that's going on, and she's also got an opinion on it. She sure as hell ain't afraid to talk about it and tell you what she thinks. And it's a 2-hour show, and it's going to run on a regular scheduled radio clock for syndication. So make sure you guys check that out. Also, Thursday night, Surviving the System is going to air, and that'll be Thursday night, I believe, at 7 p.m. Pacific. And then the Paranormal Podcast was supposed to come on this week, but they've had to postpone till next week, so they'll be on the week after. And then, of course, we've got the new host, which is the bright and brash Stephen Cambion on Saturday nights. And, of course, him and I have had a talk. He's used to being independent and saying what's on his mind and however he wants to say it. And now that he's with us, he understands that it's a little different. We don't censor people here, but we don't get too crazy either. And I understand people get passionate. There's a lot of fakers and liars and stuff out there, and you get upset about it and you get pissed off, and I get it. And we had a long talk about it. So he's good to go. So we've been through a lot here. And then I swear on everything, it's the weirdest damn thing. And I think it has something to do with the moon and the solar energy, Jupiter being close. There's just some weird energy going on. I'm not trying to get too woo-woo on you here, but you got to start believing in this stuff after a while when it happens to you. Every night I test this show, and I don't want to get weird with you and tell you every little thing that happens behind the scenes, but about an hour to 30 minutes before, I do audio and technical test. I make sure everything sounds as good as I can possibly get it to sound. Sometimes it's not so great. And so I know when we go on air, everything's going to be fine. And I've never experienced that. That was the first time that has ever happened to me. So I almost went into panic mode, but I'm not one for panic. I think panicking just makes things worse in every situation in your life. And so when I started talking and nothing was coming out on the other end, and then I saw the phones weren't going to the monitors, I had a cable go out. And so I had to play songs for 3 minutes and then dig and try to find this cable. Meanwhile, I'm sure we've got people listening in that's never listened before, and it's just wild. And, he gets on and says, well, that stuff happens, when I do things, or when I do interviews. Look, I've heard that before. I've heard that from many people, and I hardly ever believe it when people tell me that stuff. But in his case, I actually think he might be telling the truth. Because before I talked to him, before I really looked into this, I was a skeptic as well. When it comes to things like hauntings and paranormal activity, and people use ghost boxes, stuff like that, I've always been a skeptic. Now, that changed for me back when I was a Saturday host at Spaced Out Radio. That changed for me when I heard my mother's voice over the air. Now, you all know what your mother sounds like. For most of you that know, have a relationship with your mother. You can hear that voice. It's not, you're never going to say, well, I think that's my mother's voice. I'm not sure. If you know your mother, you're going to know. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I heard it, and that was through Bill Hauser's ghost box. Of course, the rest of it sounded like a bunch of gibbery, jabbish, stuff like that, but I heard her voice, and maybe it's just because I didn't recognize the spirits. But long story short, I think if we really sit back and think about all of the stuff that's going on around us that we cannot see, that we cannot interpret, there are materialists out there who call themselves paranormal. They call themselves skeptics or paranormal skeptic investigators. They got all kinds of names for themselves. And they say, well, most of the stuff happens in the mind, right? Most of the stuff happens in your brain. And there might be a chance that it happens in some other place that we just can't see, but it's all psychologically connected like this Carl Jung type of thing. Well, you know, that sounds beautiful, but I think there's more to it than that. I really do. I mean, I think things are interfacing. I mean, it's obvious to me that they're interfacing into this physical realm, into our reality from whatever realm that is, spiritual realm, hell, heaven, whatever you want to call it. And most of us, if we really think about our lives, if you go back to when you were a child, when stuff happened to you when you were a kid, it happened to you. But there's still a voice in the back of your head, I know it because it's in mine, it tells me that, man, that was just in my mind. I made that up. Hell, I could focus on anything long enough and it'll start to move, right? But that's not what's going on. What's going on is we program ourselves not to see it anymore. You know, when I was a kid, I saw tall, lanky beings like with long arms and long, slinky type fingers, you know. I didn't see them, but I saw their shadows. And they kind of hunched a little bit. I saw a little fat, ugly, God-forsakenly ugly looking dwarf thing in my bedroom standing in my door because it knew that I wanted to run into my dad's room because I was scared out of my mind. And it stood there and looked at me. I saw shadow beings and blobs. I felt things grab me when I was a kid. I heard voices talking to me, saying my name. I heard conversations that happened. And I don't believe, like I could have been making stuff up. Yeah, like when you look at a picture, there's some illusionary stuff that happens, especially if your eyes are tired or something. You can look at a picture or something. If you hadn't any sleep long enough, it'll start to move, and hell, it'll start waving at you if you keep staring at it. But I wasn't staring at these things. Hell, I was trying to plug my ears. You know, it's as a man, it's hard for me to admit just how freakishly scared I was when I was a kid of these things. But I would be so afraid that when I got into my bedroom, I would stare at the wall. Like if you walked into my room and you opened the door, I had a very small room, so you'd see a bunk bed. That's for when like my friends stayed over. And you'd see a chest of drawers at the end of the bunk bed. And the bunk bed, it's running against the wall that you're looking at. And that was pretty much my room with a little TV, you know, on the other side. And my dad's room was straight across from me, straight across the hallway. And so when I laid down at night and, you know, he would tell me, turn everything off, turn the lights off, no night light, no nothing. Couldn't even run a fan. Couldn't do nothing. He had to sleep in complete silence, which drove me crazy. And I would lay there and face the wall. And every night I hated it. And you wonder why kids fight their sleep so much. You think, well, they just don't want to miss out on something, man. They're afraid they're going to miss out on something. Well, maybe. But I think a lot of kids don't want to sleep at night because they don't want to go through that anymore. You know, as adults, we can't wait to go to sleep because that's when we go unconscious and we don't have to stress and worry about nothing anymore. The body goes into total relaxation. It's a beautiful thing when you're an adult. But when you're a kid, there's some nightmare stuff that happens before you pass out. It doesn't happen every night to all kids, but it did to me quite a lot. Now, if you imagine never shutting yourself off to that, right? Think about this. And I've really thought about this because I know we're going to be talking about paranormal trauma later on in the week. if you imagine that you never shut yourself off to that, and that you had to become an adult and be a teenager and go to school and be an adolescent, and have to go through the cool kid thing and then even become an adult later in the college years, and you were still having that stuff happen. It never shut off. Imagine what kind of life that would be. Freaky things happen all the time. So imagine what this guy's life would be like. And this guy, I'm sure there's other people like him that maybe live in a house that's got some bad energy, or maybe they just never turned it off. But I think it's his house because a lot of people saw it. A lot of other people saw it. And then they had to fit into society. And then when they tried to tell their story, they got laughed at. Or people said they were liars. Or they were making it up because they wanted to be famous or whatever. Let me tell you something. I didn't talk to this guy but for not too long at all. And he could care less about being famous. This guy is into what he's into, and he's willing to talk about it, write a book about it, I think. And this is just my opinion. I could be wrong. And he's willing to make videos about it because he sees that other people are into it. So he's opening himself up more and more. He's getting his friends involved. He's getting social media involved. But I can't imagine. And I used to be one of those guys that would point my finger. Like, I showed you that picture when I was in high school from that weightlifting competition. Yeah, I was, decently cool back then, actually. That's all I cared about. I didn't care about nothing, which is what made me cool. But if somebody like Guy or maybe one of you would have crossed my path, I probably would have treated you like crap. I probably would have said you're crazy or you're weird or you're goofy. And then if I ever heard you talking about ghosts in your house or people getting scratched or stuff messing with your sister, then I'd have had a really weird thought or judgment about you. I kind of wish I was never that way now. I kind of wish I could go back and change that. Because there's a lot of kids that I remember that had issues. I'll never forget this kid named Jack. He was one of those goth type kids I went to school with. And he was the smartest kid. He's like a genius. But I was a lot smarter than a lot of people thought I was. So I would sneak away an advisory and go down there and play chess with these guys. And I didn't want anybody seeing me. But of course the teacher would come up because I'd give these kids some good practice, I even beat Jack one time. I remember I beat Jack. I don't want to say his last name, but if any of you from my hometown are listening, you know what I'm talking about. And the guy never could get along with anybody. I mean, not because he was mean or anything, but because he was just into different things. But you can tell his mind was about learning, but his psychological mind, I don't know, our stream's starting to drop out now. There we go, we're back. So his psychological mind started to mess with him a little bit. Well, anyways, I thought this guy was going to invent the next rocket machine or invent something, like become the next Bill Gates. That's how smart he was. And he ended up getting shot at a gas station. He worked as a gas station clerk. Just part-time, trying to get through college, trying to make it. And he ends up getting shot. And what happened was, and this is from the story that happened in the newspaper, what happened was some robbers came into the gas station and they asked him for the money. And I'll tell Ryan this story because Ryan kind of reminds me of this guy, Ryan Gable. And they said, give me all the money in the register. And he told them no. He said, I'm not going to give it to you. You didn't work for it. You didn't earn it. And your gun's not intimidating me. He's pretty much mouthing to him like, just because you got a gun doesn't mean I'm going to do what you want me to do. And he got shot for it. I just wonder if I maybe, and I'm not trying to say it's our fault or my fault, but I think maybe some of these types of things were happening to him when he was younger. And if we would have just treated him the same and talked to him the same, and maybe thought, you know what, these things might actually be happening to this guy. He might actually be a little weird for a reason. He might actually be a little disturbed for a reason. It might not be what you think at all. Maybe that's why he's so upset. Let's talk to him just for a minute. We make a lot of judgments in the paranormal field about ufology, all these different things. We point at different speakers and all these different people. We point our fingers, but we have no idea about the details of what's going on in their lives. I mean, sure, there's right and wrong. There's fakes and frauds, no doubt about it. But there's all kinds of other circumstances in that gray area that happens, that gets left out. And, you know, he was talking about the suicide rate and things like that. There's no doubt about it. If you say, well, this is a negative discussion, I'm going to turn a blind eye to it. But that's why the suicide rate's going up. There's a lot of this new age claptrap going on around where we're taught, and I've been involved with it too, because I do believe that we do have powers that we don't know about. I do believe that there's something about us that's either been hidden or we just haven't tapped into yet. But that doesn't mean that we should focus all of our time and attention and effort onto ourselves and our God power and our manifestation. There's a lot of people hurting out there. And so what we do as social justice warriors is we talk about becoming super spiritually enlightened beings of God power. And we point our fingers at people on the internet because we don't understand them or we don't agree with them. And then we don't talk to them no more. We don't want any problems anymore. I don't want to see that happen in the paranormal field. I've seen it in too many other things, and I see it happening now. I'm very glad that there's a lot of more journalism going on. I'm glad that there's people like Ryan and others out there trying to figure out, what's the truth about this or that, or did you really say this or that? But you ever noticed when you walk up to the guys and you actually talk to them, you know what I'm talking about. Don't for a second think you don't. You've got at least one experience in your life, I'm betting the money, where maybe 50 to 100 people pointed their finger at somebody and said, that guy right there is insane. He's crazy, a liar, and a fraud, and a freak. Don't go talk to him. And you did. You went and talked to him, and you sat down for 15 or 20 minutes, and you had a discussion, and you talked to him. And you found out there's a lot of gray area, and then there's a lot of cause and effect going on. A lot of stuff people don't talk about, don't even know about. All I'm saying is maybe we shouldn't be so quick to pass judgment. Because when I first looked at this story, I was thinking, man, this can't be real. Maybe that girl snuck around and then she put on a mask or something. But the more I looked at it, the more I could tell that that was real, that he jumped. That same jump I used to have when I was a kid when I saw those things. And that's the reason why I believe, and one of the reasons why I believe in Hermetic principles is because when we're kids, we see these freaky things that try to put fear in us. And those things cause a ripple effect in our life that causes problems. More problems than we wanted to deal with. But some people, I've gone over break here, but some people never experience these things, and I'm glad for them. I also want to tell you guys that I'm sorry I didn't get the newsletter out. I think I've had maybe 12 hours of sleep through this past week, and lots of new shows coming, so I'm not complaining. I've been working my little butt off trying to help these other radio hosts get on here. But it's time that we open our minds back up. I don't want us to shut down just because all this stuff is going on, just because there's a lot of so-called, frauds and stuff, people talking about them. They're pointing their fingers and saying this is a fraud, mudslinging. And so I don't want that to grow. We need to keep a balance. We need to be able to open back up and look at some of these things and still ask questions. That way, people will come on the show. I don't want to say any names, but you know how many people I've asked to come on this show and they won't come on this show? And Patrick can tell you this. Of course, they don't respond to him, but I know why they're not coming on this show. They won't come on this show because we have hosts on this network who've questioned what they've said. Now, they speak to me and Patrick very respectfully. They do. But they won't come on because of the mudslinging. And that's what I think you could call somebody. I'm just saying, this is my opinion. I think that as a journalist or a broadcaster, whatever you call yourself, I think you could call somebody a fraud without calling them more than a fraud. I think you could say, look, I questioned this or that. I'd like to talk to him about it. And that's it. You know, this is not the place. This is the last place all of us crazy folk, all of us rejects that have weird experiences have to go. The last thing we need is a room full of social justice warriors and not journalists, right? We don't need people that are doing that. And it's been stressing me out. And I know there's a lot of people saying, well, it's the moon, it's the sunspots, it's the earthquakes. Well, what's causing the earthquakes? You ever think about that? You think it's really the sun? You don't think we're attached to that stuff at all? How do you know that? I don't know. I don't know anymore. I know that I've changed my mind at least 20 times on this show since I've been on the air. At least. And I'm wondering when I'm going to hit that age when I get old enough to where I'm set in my ways about everything. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I'm probably wrong about that because I see a lot of people that are that age, like my father, and they get set in their ways. And anyways, I've got to take this last break here. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about hypnotism. And this is something else I want to look into. Is it real? Why are some people susceptible to it? Why are others not? The power of the subconscious, the placebo, the nocebo, because I think that is the threshold from the physical world into the immaterial world. That is the one thing that we have, the little tiny doorway. I believe it's in our subconscious. That's where it lies. We'll be right back with more Lighting the Void.
Music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
Greetings, galactic community. This is Suzanne Ross, host of Sci-Spy Radio, every Wednesday evening from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific. Join me for this brand new show featuring a revolutionary new genre, Sci-Spy, merging science and spirituality to give us answers to the greatest mysteries of creation. Together, scientific discovery and spiritual revelation reveal the truth about who we are, where we came from, why we're here, and where we're going. Tune in to Sci-Spy Radio every Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific and discover the truth for yourself at thefringe.fm.
Did you know that qualified patients can access medical cannabis in all 50 states? CannaSense is a medical cannabis collective that helps patients in all 50 states gain access to cannabis medication. CannaSense does this with a streamlined process and strict compliance with the Compassionate Use Act of 1996, the Affordable Care Act, and the U.S. Constitution. It is important for each patient to understand the legalities involved, the cost, and the benefits of cannabis medication. Through truth, legalization, and education, the medical benefits of cannabis will supplant recreational perceptions, and the real vision for change will be realized. Let the people and their personal doctors take control of their medical cannabis decisions before the greed of big business takes over. The tipping point for change is today, and CannaSense is ready to lead the charge and enable legal access for all qualified patients to medical cannabis through its proven system. For more information, go to thefringe.fm/care or click the banner on the website today.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to The Fringe FM. Have you heard? She's coming.
This is Jason Lindgren from Crow 777 Radio, and you can hear us 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday night here on The Fringe FM.
I like to listen to Lighting the Void because of the guests, the content, and the host, Joe Roop. He's smart, he's intelligent, and he seems to ask the questions that we all have on our mind. We're all searching for the truth, and Joe helps us get closer to it. I love this show. I love this show. I love this show. Lighting the Void.
We try to surprise people.
I think that all of us were really fascinated by the way U.S. government intersects with such an extraordinary intimacy with multinational corporations that profit from war and chaos. And we discover that so many of the world leaders, the people who make the decisions that impact on the entire population of the planet, they're the same people.
Your U.S. government property, $30 million weapon.
Somebody got into our heads with big steel-toe boots, cable cutters, and a chainsaw, and they went to town. Neurons got exposed, and circuits got rewired. Our brain cells got obliterated.
I don't remember what happened. I send you to be invisible. I send you because you don't exist.
These are not supposed to exist. These are only theoretical.
They're inside my head. I dream things, terrible things that can't possibly have happened.
We try to surprise people.
Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void, and I really appreciate Guy McCort for coming on to the program tonight. Yeah, so someone's asking me in the chat room about the tall, skinny beings I saw when I was a kid. I think they called them slinky beings. I think it's Dre that's asking that. And it's I didn't get a good look at them. Like I said, all I got to look at was their. I got a good look at, I guess you could say, their shadow, right? And they were well beyond at least 8 foot tall. And I know the difference. I'm saying it was a shadow. Sometimes a shadow is a lot bigger than what's actually walking across it. But you could tell that these things were freakishly long and tall and skinny. That's all I know. Really long arms, really kind of weird torsos. And I saw them. But then again, just like I said before, I was so freaked out when I was a kid, I didn't look at anything. All I stared at was the wall. I didn't want to see this stuff. You know? I think the scariest, this is going to be kind of weird, but I think the scariest thing I ever saw, and this happened quite frequently, is I would have this old haggish looking woman visit me. So when I laid down, I'd look at the wall. Oh, and by the way, I want to say, before I tell the story, I want to say congratulations to Charlie, who went to our Get the Tea webinar. And it was funny because a couple of you guys came in there and hung out with us. Was Barbara and a couple other people were there, and they jumped into the chat right at the beginning in the webinar, or Ronnie's webinar. And so if you chat, you sign up for a free gift or whatever he decides to give away. And Charlie came in, I think it was like he came in like the last minute. Could be a girl too, because I know some girls named Charlie. But like the last minute, right before we did the drawing, and won. So congratulations. And we're sending you some heart love from getthetea.com for free. And if you guys want to make that, the next one's, I believe it's July the 1st, the Monday after next at 5 p.m. Pacific, will be in there. So anyways, I'm staring at the wall, and I would look, and there would be, like, I had a chest of drawers at the end of my bed, and that thing had kind of one of those tops that open up at the top where you could put stuff in, but always left it open. And I would always kind of peek over my covers and look down towards my feet at the end of the bed where the chest of drawers was, just to see if she was back or whatever. And she would kind of peek her head around the edge of it. And I'd be like, oh, great, here we go again. Now, this happened quite a few nights, but this one night in particular, it was really, really, really freaky. And so I turned back towards the wall, put the covers over my head, and my heart started racing. And when it's dead quiet and you're a little kid, your heart starts beating so loud you can hear your heartbeat in your ears, especially when your ears, buried in the pillow. It's just beating like crazy. And I'm thinking, what do I do? I'm trapped because they're going to get between me and the doorway, and I can't run into my dad's room. What do I do? What do I do? I'll just cover up, and I'll never have to look at him. I won't have to worry about it. Well, this is the weird psychological part that I think the reason why we watch horror films and the reason why we do things like this, why we want things to scare the hell out of us. Well, I had to look, even though I knew it was there. And my heart was beating out of my chest at this point. Like, when it's beating so hard, you can pretty much feel it in your stomach. And so I looked out, and they were coming at me, and like all the way, like if you're laying to the right and you look over your left shoulder, they're right there, right over your left shoulder. And then I got really freaky, but I felt another presence. There was something else there. Something else was there. It wasn't just this haggy looking witchy thing anymore. I don't know how to explain it. But I pulled the covers back over my head, and it was too late. And the weird thing is I think I had some type of, I don't know how to explain it, some type of psychosis or something where time kind of slows down and it gets real choppy because you're just so freaked out. Sometimes you get anxiety, and some people pass out. Some people urinate on themselves. Some people scream. Time would slow down for me. It would get real choppy, and I wouldn't get any sense of time, almost like if you took ecstasy or something like we were talking about with Robert Bonomo. And then I felt the flapping of wings. Have you ever had anything around your ears that was flapping like a bird? You know what it feels like, right? If you've ever been around it in your life. So this witchy thing had brought something with it that wasn't, I couldn't tell what it was because I only glanced at it. I didn't want to look at it very long. And I've told the story a long time ago. And for some reason, my mind was thinking, bumblebee, it's a bumblebee. It's a big, giant bumblebee. But this thing was flapping. I wish I had a sound effect for it, but not like a bird, but like a hummingbird, like a humming flapping. Like a vroom. It was that loud in my ears. Imagine that. Vroom. You can feel it. You can feel the hair like it touching the tip of your ear. That's what I felt. And I screamed to the top of my lungs, and I just threw the blanket and ran into my dad's room. And night after night, I would have experiences like that. Not every single night, but most nights. So I was always trying to stay the night at my buddy's house, or I was always trying to find a reason to go to my grandma's house. And then I would have dreams, like weird dreams of paranormal activity, that they were vivid enough where I thought they were real. You know, I would be walking in the kitchen, and those big spoons that were hanging down, everybody's got the big spoons and the Jell-O molds and stuff hanging down. Those things that were hanging down would start moving on their own. And I would think it was real, or maybe I was out of my body. Hell, I don't know. And then I'd wake up. Just really crazy stuff happened. And the more times I talk to people like this, like Guy, I think what ends up happening is they just never shuts off. They don't shut it off. They don't believe. They don't fall for that BS when your parents tell you that you're just making this stuff up. It's all in your brain. Well, if it is all in my brain and my brain's that powerful, then what does that tell you about reality? Have you ever thought about that? If you're right about that, then that means if I was born into a society that had no preset rules, programs, thoughts, or beliefs, then I could see stuff all the time and everywhere. And I'd always know it was there, and it would never go away. But I shut myself off to the observation of it. Like Ramblin' Randy, one of our characters that called into the show, which I'm going to try to get him on. I'm hunting that man down for you guys, by the way, and I think I found him, and hopefully I can get back with him, and we'll get him back on the show. But where focus goes, energy flows, and we shut ourselves off to those focal points somewhere along the way. And it has to do with our subconscious, I believe, and tomorrow we're going to talk about that and hypnotism with, I believe his name is Alan Neunberg, and it's going to be a fascinating conversation. Look, I got to get out of here. The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable's coming up next, and if you want to support this show, please do. You can donate. If you go to one of our sponsors, Ancient Life Oil, or Get the Tea, tell them that we sent you, tell them that we love them, and that tell them we said, hey, because they're good stuff. Ronnie's a good dude, and he cares about you, and he cares about your health. Also, follow his YouTube channel at Health Matters Now. Go check him out. I got to get out of here. And I want a big shout out to Pacho on our Lighting the Void team, my co-producer Pacho. Also, Don, other co-producers is Dennis and Barbara and Blake. And Eric Markham, my partner, and program director Jeremy Scott. Don't broadcast the show without written permission. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Good night.